The rain has finally stopped for 5 minutes, so I'm finally able to take poor Rocco out. What a crazy few days. So happy they think they got the guy. It felt so good. It felt surreal on Friday, saying today is the day, seeing the family say today is the day. And like, this is the one, isn't it? I said in my first ever Delphi video, when nothing was really happening in this case, that this for me was one that haunted me. A lot of you identified with that. And people following it, it was never a case, and is never a case, that was at the back of your mind. It was kind of always at the forefront. If you're not thinking about it every day, at least once, then there's definitely a couple of times a week where this case will just randomly come into your head and give you chills. And that's when nothing was happening in this case. And this is coming from someone who's halfway around the world that has no connection to Delphi. Can you imagine what it feels like for the locals? Can you imagine what it feels like for the girls' families? And I'm buzzing for them, so happy for all of them and the whole community. There's some lovely people there, but look at this. He was under your nose the whole time. A devil working amongst them, living with them. They were talking to him every day. The sketches, I need to make a separate video on sketches, but they didn't seem to help her because Richard was in front of them all the time. He has pictures in front of them. There was a one up in the counter where he was working every day. People were probably maybe looking at the poster, and then the very next sight after that poster is Richard's face, and nobody put it together. Nobody seen this coming. No previous convictions. The nicest guy ever, so helpful, blah de blah de blah. He processed photos. Becky went in there and he processed photos from a memorial of Libby for free, didn't charge her, was lovely, nice guy. It's just shocking. The whole thing is shocking. And what a twist. I wasn't really happy with the press conference yesterday. I don't know why. I knew what was going to happen. I knew that the probable cause affidavits were sealed and were going to be sealed until even after the press conference. I did a video on that a few days ago. But I don't know, it just felt a bit conflicting, or it didn't feel as satisfying as I thought it would be. Like every indication is that they think they got their guy. Friday was the day they took a shoebox, clothes, or they said clothes, they couldn't see whether it was actually clothes, but a shoebox, clothes, a Macy's plastic bag. They searched the flower bed and they searched 2 spots by the shed. One of those spots is very small, they said, like a bottle cap, so a tiny area. Whatever they got, it is damning. And I think he's the guy, but at the same time, the tip line remains open, everything is sealed, and on one hand, they're telling us, yes, this is the guy, and on the other, they're saying, this is not over. It's still active. And for us following it, it just feels like a bit of a cloud over it because of that. Like, have you got everyone involved or not? Because we want everyone who had anything to do with this rotting in jail. At least I want the death penalty, but just get rid of them. If the Klines didn't exist, and Doug Carter yesterday talked about, it doesn't matter what we think, it's what we know. We know they were looking at the Klines. They went down that road big time. We know at least that up until very, very recently is the direction that the case was going. We know that Doug Carter specifically, and that was his words, I'd like to specifically call out and thank Jeremy Clinton. The same Jeremy Clinton who was Kegan Kline's interrogation officer. He seems like a gem, by the way. But is that a coincidence? What brought them to Richard's house? Was it the search in the Wabash River? Was it something Kegan said? Was it totally unrelated? Was it something like a family member spotted something and gave him up, totally unrelated to the Klines? It just happened to happen at the same time. Did they just find something from a totally unrelated tip on Richard and find so much? They're like, this is the guy. We're happy to go straight ahead and charge, arrest, set dates, boom, full steam ahead. Was it a coincidence that the Anthony Shots profile, which Kegan Kline set up, was the last person the police said was talking to Libby that day? And they told Becky a few months back that there is a social media connection. Becky, bless her, blamed herself for it then. She was like, oh, when they told me about the social media, I was wondering, could I have done more to prevent this from happening? Should I have checking her phone more, knowing more about apps and stuff like that? Like, would they really tell Becky that and let her think there was a social media connection if they didn't believe it, if it was just a red herring? I don't think so. Every indication is they were pursuing a social media connection and they were looking at the Klines. If the Klines didn't exist or we didn't know anything about the investigation, I would have felt a lot happier yesterday, because you were like, yeah, a local in the area, under your nose, typical. This is the guy, happy days. But that's not the case. And all I want is the right people caught for this. All of them. Person or persons, as Carter said. And it's just hard to take full satisfaction from yesterday because it's still open. I think they might suspect that other people are involved, or at very least they're not at a stage where they can totally rule that out. And I'm not going to get mad at them. I'm not going to make videos bashing the police or anything like that. They're obviously on the right track. So just going back to basics. What's the motive? Now that we know who did it, or who is the guy, they're telling us he's the guy. What's the motive? What could possibly be Richard's motive? And one a lot of us looked at early on is, was it someone random who just snapped? Were teenage girls just being normal teenage girls and did something that happened to make him snap? I've said this story before, I think in video, a live stream, but I worked in a fast food place when I was like 16, 17, and I always remember one shift there. I was working with a guy who is the nicest guy in the world, a gentle giant, such a lovely man, amazing personality, but he can look a bit distinctive at times. Something he kind of kneels into as well, a small bit. An example being, he has on 2 occasions, I think, dressed up as Shrek for fancy dress. Hilarious. His personality is so good that when you get to know him, you're just like, he's handsome. But yeah, he does a great job of looking like Shrek. But one night I was working with him. We were on a late shift, up the walls, busy. He was a great worker and he was just tearing into the work. But his hat was messy, he had flour all over him, he looked a state, and that's because he was just working so hard. But I noticed 2 teenage girls outside waiting, they were waiting for food, but they were laughing at him. They were turning and laughing and giggling at him. And they're just normal teenage girls. They thought they were being quiet about it, they didn't realise how obvious it was. But in that moment it felt so cruel. My reaction wasn't to say something to the girls. I tried to distract him so he wouldn't notice. But it was too late. He noticed. And the rest of the night, he was just a bit sad. I was a bit sad because he was sad. It just felt a bit mean. And it was a bit mean, but it was just normal, unintentional things that all teenage girls do. And it's a moment I always remember. I always remember when I seen that they were laughing at him and noticing that he noticed it. It was just so awkward, uncomfortable. And I do wonder, and I have in the past, did something like that happen? Were Abby and Libby just being normal teenage girls and they did something that made Bridge Guy snap? And if a lone wolf is involved here, if Richard is a lone wolf, that could be a motive to me. However, when you dig into it, based off the things that the police have told us, it doesn't make sense. The crime scene, the items used, they believe there was a chance photos and videos were taken, the bodies were posed. None of that fits someone just snapping. There was clothes taken, there was items from the girls taken. That doesn't fit someone just snapping. And it does seem like there was some sort of planning. They said there was a social media connection. What is the connection? What is the motive? A topic that I stayed away from all along is the idea of a snuff film or something like that, or selling photos, something like that. It just always felt like a step into the lunatic side. And the only things I know about that really is the bodies were posed, the police believe there was photos taken, and someone in the Kline household googled Sandy Hook bodies while they were in the middle of porn searches and playing with themselves, basically. I don't know how else to say it. I do wonder, was Richard ever down to Vegas? That would be interesting. Why do the police believe the attack on Libby was a bit more personal than the attack on Abby? Is that due to the social media connection? Is it due to maybe unintentionally someone from Libby's family did something to upset Richard at one time? I've no idea. But what is the motive? Why do you kill 2 girls on a random Monday in broad daylight? It just doesn't fit with something impulsive. Let me know what you think. I'm really interested in comments and thoughts. Like, what do you think the motive is? Is the connection to the Klines just a total coincidence? Were they wrong to say there was a social media connection? Let me know what you think. I'm really interested in comments on what people think around the motive. And one last thing before you go. I don't say enough in videos, but a big thank you to my amazing Patreons, members, mods. I did a few random live streams the last few days and gave no one notice. Grandma Sherry, both my grandmothers died when I was young, but I've adopted Grandma Sherry and a few others on here as well. Thanks so much. I missed some of the super chats also in live streams, and sorry to anyone who I didn't say thanks. Please don't think because I missed your comment or didn't say thanks at the time I don't appreciate it. I'm never going to be a channel that only reads super chats or members chats. It's not my style. And as I said yesterday, I do think YouTube has a serious problem and liability with the true crime community on here, and the only way of solving it is just demonetizing all of it. It's the only way I think they can deal with protecting victims. People will still find a way to support their favourite channels, but that will stop a lot of the crap. And only then I think you're going to see people on here who have a bit of passion and care about what they're talking about, not just looking for a payday. But I'm so grateful for anyone who can support, and that's why I put the names at the end of all my videos. I like having that there, and I like that it's going to be there forever, or as long as YouTube is around anyway. And obviously, of course, all the people who aren't members but watch my videos and thumbs up and comment. I have an army there. Most of them are quiet. I know you're there though. I don't get to know them like I do the people who comment. And again, there's loads of people who aren't members, aren't Patreons, but they still support, and they still support financially because I have a monetized channel and they watch my videos. They see ads, and you don't have to be a member or Patreon or send super chats to support the channel. This is why I don't talk about this stuff often, because I turn into a giant hypocrite saying thanks for super chats and then saying YouTube should demonetize all of true crime content. Like, my true sub count isn't 10, 12,000, it's about 2 or 3,000, which is still awesome, blows my mind. And a lot of these people I've gotten to know pretty well over the last few months, and you're all lovely. I don't say it enough, but I'm just blessed and so grateful to have found you all. Thanks, good luck, God bless. I hope everyone has a good day.